Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Box Seats. I'm your host, Frank Holder. This is the show where we talk about sports with comedians. Let me bring in my man, Maurice Smith. He's in the building. Mo, how you doing, sir? How's everything, bro?
What's going on, Frank? Man, are you back?
I'm
Are
back.
you,
I'm back.
you back on the East Coast?
Sir, I'm back. I'm back. I'm
Okay.
back.
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm back and got a little rest. Let me bring my man Amir Sealy's also in the building. Amir, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. How's everything? How you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing okay.
What's
Doing
going on,
okay.
man? Always a good time with you, Amir.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes, same here.
Yeah. And Mir fell out. I guess he'll come back in a second. So Mo, we got to talk about some sports while we wait for Mike, and if anybody else is going to jump in, let's get ready to jump into the sports thing. Let me see. There coming Mir. Mir, you back in? You okay with your connection
Yes,
over
sir.
there, bro?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Let me get it. Let me
Just
get
trying to
ready
make
to
you guys can hear me loud and clear.
Yep, you fine. You
Yep.
good.
Okay.
You good. You good. Let me get ready to jump in and see if Mo's going to be in there. So first of all, I don't know how update you are on the NCAA brackets, Mo, but the brackets came out yesterday. So NCAA brackets was picked. Alabama, Houston, Kansas, and Purdue were all number one picks. I don't think there was too many shockers there though. What's your take on that, Mo?
You know what? I've been following the season because my wife's job do a special kind of bracket, and I wanted to like kind of really be into it this year. So I kind of been keeping up with them. Purdue is not a true number one to me.
Right.
They're not, and they got Duke in their division in their round of games, so
Mm-hmm.
they can get popped out real easy. This year, I don't think I've never seen so many number one changes in the whole NCAA that I've been watching. And it's funny how North Carolina, who was in the preseason ranked number one, didn't even make the tournament.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up there too, because at the beginning of the year, yeah, they like in December or was it September? I don't know what month it is.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
had Carolina. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Amir Sealy. I don't know how much you followed the NCAA tournament and everything else, man. But what's your take on the brackets?
You know what's so crazy? Like it's funny. I'm I'm excited because I'm always excited for the NCAA tournament. I think it's probably one of the last, Sebastians of honestly, energy and emotion and everything else that goes into trying to do your last hurrah. But it's
Mm-hmm.
weird to hearing that the names that we've become so accustomed to hearing be number one seeds either aren't in it, aren't number one
Mm-hmm.
seeds, and everything else that goes along with it. But we also have to take into account we're talking 30, almost 40 years now of basketball, and what I do love about it is now seeing the kids of some of the people who we grew up on watching their kids
Right.
or their kids are now the new leaders in that field. So I'm excited about the NCAA. I'm always excited about the NCAA tournament. That's like my favorite time of the year, bar none.
Well, when it comes to watching basketball, I know we all can agree on this. These boys play balls out, like they literally, no homo or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, they literally go all out. Like don't they? Like don't they go? They play really extremely hard. That's because they playing for something. Like you know what I mean? Like they like I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to get drafted. I'm playing for versus. I don't want to say the NBA players play lazy ball, but it ain't the same as if you watch college basketball and you watch the pros, it's not the same. I don't care what nobody says. It's not the same. Granted, the level's not the same either, but it's just not the same. I love college basketball. I don't watch as much as I used to, but I love it. All right, Mo. I woke up this morning and I cut the TV on. It was like 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning, and all I kept hearing was Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers. I am so sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers, but because it's the hot topic, because Aaron Rodgers is supposed to have a deal on the table from the Jets. The deal on the table from the Jets to make a trade with the Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers are agreeing to, but Aaron Rodgers got to sign off on it and everything else. Do you think, Mo, that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign off and go to the Jets, or you think he's going to leave him hanging high and dry?
Um, I kind of want to say he's going to leave him high and dry because that's just how self-centered Aaron Rodgers is. He just wants to play with everybody. And I ain't gonna do nothing. I ain't gonna do nothing. I ain't gonna make no moves. He just wants the attention. I really think I want to say he's gonna come to the Jets, but I really think he's gonna stay right there in Green Bay or is he gonna stay in Green Bay or he gonna retire? I don't see him coming to New York. I
You
don't.
don't see it at all?
No, I don't. I wish I. No, I don't see him coming.
He had a big sigh. He said he did one of those. You see that? You see that? He said, "Yeah, but no, I don't see it." I mean,
Yeah.
you see it happening?
You know what's so crazy? I will say this. If he does come to the Jets, and I mean this with all sincerity, and he just gets them to the playoffs and wins one or two playoff games, to me that solidifies. Not that he's not solidified. He's got a Super Bowl under his thing and MVPs. But like I said, to me, when you're great, your greatness translates to you going to new spaces and then proving that same, medal in your new space. Green Bay, I think, has run his course for him, not because he's a bad person or anything like that. I think it's just run his course. So maybe being in a new environment. New York is cold, so he's used to the cold, so we don't have to worry about that. We damn sure not as cold as Green Bay. So this might even make it, easier for him in terms of, being able to get the job done. But I think if he's really looking to go out, and ride off into the sunset in a way that most athletes look to, I think coming to the Jets would be perfect. Because like I said, if he can get them to the playoffs and even win a, playoff game or two, it solidifies him as being legitimately what we have, grown to say he was all this time. So I think it'd be a great thing for him.
Bro, if he got them to the playoffs, he would be a shoot. He's already shooting for the Hall of Fame. But like, I don't want to say he's in Tom Brady's level, but he gets into the playoffs, bro. That's insane. All you got to do is get him to the playoffs. Forget about the playoffs and win a playoff game. You know what I mean? That's
he said, just get him to the playoffs.
Yeah, if he gets the Jets haven't been to the playoffs in how many years? At least 15. And the Jets haven't won anything since the 70s. You know what I mean? If he gets them to the if he gets them to the Super Bowl, oh my, wow.
I think the last Jets appearance, it wasn't 15 years ago. The last Jets playoff appearance was no pun intended. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
2011.
I remember that.
Patriots,
they beat the Patriots. Yeah. Yeah. That's what made me dislike Rex Ryan.
Yeah. Okay.
No, because Rex Ryan talked so much trash, and he took in New York. You can't talk trash, and your only one claim to fame is you beat the Patriots in a playoff game. That's it. That was it. That's all he did.
I know. Listen, I know. I'm a Patriots fan. I know. All right, so Mo, side note here, real fast. Sidetrack note here, right fast. I was looking at some of the XFL numbers. The XFL is gaining a lot of steam, Mo. They're gaining a lot of steam. They had 38,000 people to show up at a game. They're getting some numbers. That people are starting to take notice. They're starting to get bigger contracts and everything else. So my question is to you, do you think the XFL is going to continue to ride this wave and then ultimately, eventually be somewhat competitive against the NFL? Or do you think this is just a momentary blip?
Well, that was in Memphis, am I right? When they got those, it was in Memphis. Right. What else they got to do in Memphis? Just tell me. You tell me what else they got to do. When you get 38,000 people to see a New York team, no. When you get 38,000 people to see a LA team in the XFL, you can't even get 38 people to go see the Chargers in LA. So I don't know. I mean, it's Memphis, it's the XFL. I'm happy for them. But I mean, and I saw that they almost sold out or something like that. But I tried to watch it. It was like watching Canadian football. Wasn't even like watching college. It was like watching Canadian football to me. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I think we're so programmed. I think that's the problem. Let me ask you. I mean, it's literally like a stepping stone. It's the off season. They're gaining some momentum. The Rock is attached to it. He's one of the founding members and everything else. Do you think the XFL is going to finally be able to make a couple of steps forward with this? What's your thoughts?
Well, I think two things. I think first off, obviously that's a great situation for them early on, especially because it's so early in their development. But I think the other thing is this, and y'all may or may not have talked about this on your show in particular, on this show in particular. There's some chinks in the armor when it comes to the NFL now. You both may or may not have seen the interview with Adrian Foster and certain other former players from the NFL who are now pulling that curtain back. And I think what's happening is the XFL gives us an opportunity, because these names aren't definitively household names, an opportunity to get on board with some people who we now really have to look at. We have to pay attention to the games. We have to pay attention to the stats. We have to see what these guys are capable of. We're finding in some cases that, some of what we've, come to know and believe has been either scripted or not what we thought it was. And I think so you have that duality. And one thing about us as fans is we fickle. The minute we realize that something is what we think it is, we're out of here. I don't want to watch that no more. So this could be it could be a turning point for the XFL. I think we just have to continue to watch and see, how this plays out.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. 100%. All right. In other news, obviously you see at the bottom, Lamar Jackson news is starting to pop up. Teams can start talking to him on Wednesday. Mo, that's the thought that everybody's going to be looking at right now. Is what's Lamar Jackson going to do? Granted, everybody's talking about Aaron Rodgers, but since we talk about the NFL, what is Lamar Jackson going to do? Because it's a picky situation. If Lamar Jackson lands a big deal and gets a trade, there's going to be a lot of players who will be firing their agents. You heard it here first. That's the way I think, because they're going to be like, well, why we need our agents? You know what I mean? Giving them all this money. What's your take on this, Mo? How you see it?
You know what? I think on Wednesday, when they're eligible to talk to Lamar, all the Aaron Rodgers talk is going to end. Watch him make his decision before Wednesday, because he wants to be bigger than that. He wants to make sure he gets in, because if Aaron don't make up his mind, Lamar might be a Jet. Lamar might go to the Jets for real. And I'm serious, because that has to be in Aaron Rodgers' mind. Like, I got to make up my mind before this kid hits I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, hit the waiver wire, or whatever the deadline is. Because once he's on the table, other teams will think twice before they say, well, we got Aaron Rodgers. Hey, but we got this guy here too. We can get Lamar. So I think Lamar is gonna wind up with whoever gives him the most money. We're at in the NFL. We know what teams he's not gonna go to, like Miami, San Francisco. Well, San Francisco he might go to, but we know certain teams he's not going to. But it's only a handful. You know what I'm saying? It's only a handful, and it's about to be on and popping. He's gonna get that. He's gonna get that bag.
I think he'll get that bag, Mo, but I think you're wrong about Miami. I think Miami gonna be in play to get him. I can see him landing in Miami. But before we talk about the Dolphins, what you think, Amir? Will you see Lamar Jackson can start talking to teams on Wednesday, bro, and it opens up the field if he demands a trade and he sit there and say, okay, I'm gonna get this trade, even though he literally has the franchise tag on him. And if Baltimore can't agree to anything, they might have nothing else to do but be forced to trade him. What's your thoughts on this, Amir? Amir, you still there?
I think
first like he's frozen.
Kudos and props to.
It looked like he froze.
Yeah, we're losing him.
Yeah, he froze, and then he fell out. Let me see if I can bring him back in.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? Lamar is gonna be. He's gonna be somewhere. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Amir, you're gonna have to go out and come back in.
His Wi-Fi probably. Yeah, I think Lamar is gonna wind up. I don't see him winding up in Miami, but I mean, Lamar is gonna put. He has a. That's what I want to say. They put a special franchise tag on him. He's like the second person ever. Mm-hmm. It's like, was it what they call it? It's not a non-committal. It's
It was a special type of franchise tag.
It was a special. I forgot the term. So that means that it allows teams to talk to him, because once you franchise a player, that means teams are off. But this is a special one which allowed teams. So Baltimore's ready to move on without him. I think they done played all the cards they can play. The last one was the special franchise tags. They did that just to say, ain't nobody gonna give you the money, so you might as well take this money we gonna give you now. And they trying to scare. I think Baltimore's out of moves. They done outplayed. They done played themselves. How Big Daddy Kane say, put a quarter in your ass because you played yourself.
Yeah, and yeah, I 100% agree with that. But here's the problem with this, Mo. Here's the big problem. If Miami steps up to the plate, because Miami might be done with Tua. If Miami steps up to the plate, can you imagine Lamar Jackson in Miami? Or better yet, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Listen, Lamar Jackson could go to a couple of places that would want him hand over fist, and I don't think they have a problem with that. Okay, it may look like he's trying to come back in.
Yeah, Lamar in Miami is insane. Lamar in Miami with Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and they just got the cornerback
Jalen Jalen
from the
Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey, and
Yeah,
they got what's the other one? They got Xavier McKinney's the other one.
yeah.
I think
Amir,
the other cornerback. Yo, listen, Miami is looking like the AFC East championships already,
right?
just on paper,
Yeah.
without the Bills. And mind you, they still got the Bills and the Jets in their division. They look like the best team in their division right now. They look like the AFC championship division, for for going to the AFC championship right now.
Yeah, but again, it's only
But
March.
they looked like that last year at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they sure did. I don't know what's wrong with Amir. Amir's connection.
Oh no.
I'm trying to bring him in. So I
It's
guess the next question should be then is I'm going to ask you is the window closing on the Bills?
Yeah, it is.
Think so?
Yeah, it is. And especially when they lost Brian Dable. I said it all last year. I'll say it again. You can see the difference in the team that has Brian Dable and the difference in the team that doesn't have Brian Dable. Brian Dable was the quarterback whisperer up there in Buffalo. And without him, until they get somebody else that knows how to keep Josh Allen in check, the window is closed, if not already closed.
All right, so let me ask Amir. Amir, what's your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills? Is the window closing on the Bills? And if you want to jump back to that Lamar Jackson, what you think on that too? You got. I'm gonna give you the floor. Go ahead.
Okay. First and foremost, on the Lamar Jackson thing, I think, like I said, you're talking about a situation where, a young man is bet on himself, and it's always good to see, someone bet on themselves. So I hope that, this thing plays out, the way that he anticipates it playing out. My only drawback on that is, again, we know that the NFL as a whole is still, the old boys network. And to your point, Frank, if he wins by holding out the way that he did, like you said, it could disrupt the apple cart and have a lot of players, looking sideways at, these, like you said, these, the representation that they have, because these guys are getting, part of their salaries based off of, this representation. So that could be catastrophic, on a number of levels. So we have to see how that plays out. As far as the Buffalo Bills, I don't know if the window is running out. I just think that the Bills, to me, what's missing with the Bills is, that level of toughness. When we look at all of the teams who have gotten over the hump, on the defensive side of the ball, they've always seemed to have at least one player who has that toughness. It's a shame that the Buffalo Bills don't have. What's the gentleman who played years ago? He was a linebacker, big guy, dark-skinned fella. I can't think of his name right now, but he played for the Bills. I can't think of what his name is.
Not Red. Thurman Thompson, not Thurman Thompson. Was it Thurman
No,
Thompson?
not Thurman Thomas. It was another gentleman, I think, who had gone to the Bills later in his career, but he was a tough linebacker. And I think that's what's missing for them. They don't have somebody on the defensive, to me, side of the ball who can go out there and command that defense goes out there and makes the stops when they really need stops, and to get the ball back when they need to get the ball back. They've been struggling, to me, over the last few seasons with that. The offense is the offense. We know that they, more than capable, just based off of what we've seen in the last few years. But I think where they seem to struggle is on the defensive side of the ball, when they really need stops and when they really need to be able to get the ball, back in the hands of their quarterback. So if they can shore that up, I think they'll be fine. But I don't really think that they run it out, because most of that team is young. The quarterback is young. The receiving core over there is young. So those guys have, still got a few more years in them. But I think that they have to really make a decision as to come together and play their best, football as a collective.
You know what they remind me of? The Buffalo Bills remind me. Remember the 90s Portland Trailblazers before they finally ultimately went to the finals, and they were beating everybody. Everybody was scared of them, but they kept winning, but they could never get to the finals. And they finally eventually did get to the final. And then when they got to the finals, they eventually lost to the Bulls. That's what they remind me of them. It's the equivalent of them, because the Bills the last couple of years have been really scary to play. Like, what I mean? And then they flutter when they get to the playoffs. I don't understand it.
We got to understand too, though, the Bills did have a strong linebacker. Didn't they have Von Miller, and he got hurt in the middle of the season, and he was out for the rest of the season? He was supposed to be their closer.
Yeah, like the Portland Trailblazers was good all the time, but they had some horrible injuries towards the tail end of a lot of seasons, and ruined them. It ruined their whole thing. They could have won the NBA championship. That's why I was like, to me, that's the equivalent. All right, so
is that the Portland Trailblazers with Kevin Duckworth?
Yeah. Duckworth and Jerome.
I would think that was a funny name, Kevin Duckworth.
What's Jerome's last name? I mean,
Jerome Kersey. They had Jerome
Kersey, Kevin Duckworth.
Yeah, they had a crew.
They had Clyde. They had a crew.
They had a crew.
Yeah, and they were beating everybody in the middle of the season. They were beating everybody all the time. They kept climbing, and then they kept fluttering. And next thing you know, and then eventually they did get to the finals, and they finally did get to the finals. You know what happened? They lost to the Bulls. That's why I lost to Jordan. Yeah, they lost to Jordan. All right, so Mo, did the Carolina Panthers make a mistake by not pursuing Lamar Jackson after making a trade for the number 1 pick with the Bears? Meanwhile, they got DJ Moore, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. So the Carolina Panthers make a mistake by not pursuing Lamar Jackson.
You mean they gave up those picks, right? They gave up that. Did they? I don't. Unless they're going to give Lamar the whole $200 and something million, I didn't see Lamar wanting to go to Carolina anyway. That's no. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Jacksonville. No, the Carolina's the one that gave up the picks and everything for Lamar. Yeah, he wasn't going to go there. He wasn't. Carolina did what did their thing. Were they smart with doing it? No, they gave up a whole lot, and they franchised their future. They didn't have a whole lot riding on their future anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't.
So you don't like that deal at all?
No, because they didn't have a lot. They don't. What pieces do they still have? They weren't a great team. They still putting pieces together. They gave away a lot of pieces. 2 1s, a few seconds, and the wide receiver, DJ Moore. That's a lot.
Yeah, DJ Moore was their best wide receiver. So they gave us 2
first-round
picks and 2 second-round picks. And everybody's saying, well, y'all, we're going to do that. Amir, everybody's saying, y'all going to do that. Y'all could have just try to get Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? But they traded the Bears for all that stuff. So I guess my question to you is, do you think the Carolina Panthers made a mistake? Amir, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'm sure in hindsight they probably did, but at the end of the day, it's always interesting when people end up in the spaces that they end up in. For Lamar, obviously, it turned into something really wonderful because he was able to flourish over there in the system that they had in Baltimore. And maybe Baltimore might be a little bit closer to Lamar Jackson's spirit. Like, one of the things that we may or may not take into account when you're looking at a lot of these players is the cities that they represent sometimes speak to the spirit. Baltimore is a gritty, can be grimy at times, kind of situation. And when you look at Lamar, he kind of represents that in a fun way. He brings he's like the kid in your neighborhood who, plays sports. So all the, bad kids stay away from him. They're like, yo, leave him alone. He's not wired like the rest of us. He enjoys his life and, let him do what he does. And I think for Lamar, that's what happened there. And I think, Carolina, they haven't, technically been on point for some time now. They really have been in disarray ever since, who left there years ago. Let's be honest. And Cam Newton, for whatever reason, he, did as much as he could, obviously with the organization back then. But to me, they've been in disarray ever since Cam Newton left, if we're going to be honest. And I don't know if they've ever been able to pick up the pieces because of that. It's just the truth,
Great point. So let me ask you this, Mo. Was keeping Justin Fields a mistake for the Bears?
No. The Bears came out, man. They came out smelling like a rose on this, and keeping Fields. Fields is I'm not going to say a great quarterback, but he's a good piece to have in there as your quarterback. And he's a great piece to build around. And with everything that they got for him, come on, man. If the Bears can't go out and have a winning season this year, they need to just drop out the league and go to the XFL. That's what they need to do. Because with everything that they got for this young man, they should be able to put together a squad that could at least make a run in the playoff, make a small run, at least get to the playoff, get to the wild card at least. If not, they need to go to the XFL. Maybe not even XFL. They should send them to the Canadian League. They're not far from Canada in Chicago.
He's crazy. You're killing me, man. You're killing me, man. He's an okay quarterback. Justin Fields is a good quarterback. You give Justin Fields a wide receiver. I'm not gonna say my point yet, but I mean, what's your take on the Bears keeping Justin Fields? Is that a mistake or not?
I think I think that was a great move for them. I think Justin Fields is going to shape into, the new quarterback class that, we're now starting to see, in the NFL, and that's the Lamar Jacksons. That's the gentleman that plays for the Eagles. That's, my man who plays for Kansas City. We have this new influx and renaissance of, black quarterbacks who have now come in, and they've changed the game in a number of ways, either their ability to run or their ability to pass. But most of these guys, you have to prepare both ways for them. And Justin Fields appears to be a quarterback of that ilk. Now, his health, could be a question, and that, sometimes plays a major role in, how this thing plays out. But I think if he can stay healthy and, just like Mo said, they could put some real, solid pieces around him, I think he's going to be just as solid and just as great a quarterback as some of these other names that we just mentioned, because he has that capability. It's just a matter of him getting the pieces around him that allows him to flourish in that way.
No doubt about it. Mo, I guess since we're talking about football quarterbacks and everything else, the word came out this morning that according to Ian Rappaport, the Browns have restructured Deshaun Watson's contract, 6-year, $230 million contract, to give themselves some more cap space. They freed up $36 million. So now the Browns get ready to be in the mix. But there's thoughts about him redoing his contract, about how that might affect Lamar Jackson. What you think about Deshaun Watson's contract getting redone, Mo? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I can see that. You know what I'm saying? They saved him, so it's his turn to return. His turn to return the favor. Look, Lamar. I mean, not Lamar. Look, when nobody else wanted to mess with you, Cleveland took a chance, and they made sure you at least got $1 million if everything else would have went wrong. Because had everything would have went wrong, he still was going to get at least $1 million to hold him over until he can get into whatever else venture. And so Cleveland took a chance and they took a risk. So it's only right that he do the same thing, restructure his contract so they can build a team around him. Because we never doubted his talent. We never doubt. It's just all the stuff that came along with him and what made everybody raise an eyebrow. But it's Cleveland. And if Roddy was here, huh?
I was going to say, everybody keeps overlooking the Browns. The Browns had already an okay team anyway. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they weren't bad. But once again, like Roddy will always say, it's Cleveland. Nothing good comes out of Cleveland. What comes out of Cleveland?
He does say that all the time. I mean, what's your thoughts on Deshaun Watson getting his contract done?
I think, again, we have a situation here where, restructuring it can be a good or a bad thing. But I think in Deshaun Watson's, case, like Mo just pointed out, Cleveland, again, took a risk. They said, look, we want you here. We want to make sure that, you're happy here. They did their part. He needs to now do his part. Look, you can't win these games by yourself. You're going to need players around you. You're going to need pieces in order to get certain things done. So if he's smart, he'll buy into the situation. His money, a good portion of his money was guaranteed anyway, so it's not like he's not going to get it. And this allows them to, at least, maneuver some things so that he can have some things around them to definitely put them in continue to have them in the conversation. And I think, as far as Cleveland is concerned, again, it's one of those weird cities. They just can't seem to get over the hump. No matter who we bring to that organization, no matter who they, put in control of things, they just can't seem to get over the hump. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can finally do that.
No doubt about it. All right, let me see the next story up. Let me take this one off. The next story up is the Bucs are going after Baker Mayfield and Jacoby Brissett. But Mo, I don't know about you, but I would love to see Jacoby Brissett in a Bucs uniform with the couple. If they keep a lot of that team together, Jacoby there might be dope. What's your take? Well,
I don't like Baker Mayfield out there because Baker Mayfield. I give him his props for being able to play in the NFL, but he ain't that quarterback. Jacoby Brissett, yeah, but who's gonna be their running back? They're gonna need a running game, even with no matter who they put in there. And they just released Fournette. I mean, and they're gonna still keep what's his name, Michael. I'm going to say Michael Irvin. It's not Michael Irvin, but Jesus. TAC kicks in at the wrong time. Uh,
Mhm.
they still need you need to work on their offense and still piece together parts of the defense because they lost some key pieces like Jason Pierre-Paul. I think it's gonna be gone too.
There you
Jacoby
go.
Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is not a bad addition, but they more than just a quarterback away from being a contender again.
Yeah. Amir, do you like Jacoby Brissett at the Tampa Bay uniform or Baker Mayfield?
Um, I like the new kid. I think that's a great addition. I don't think Baker Mayfield was a bad quarterback. I think the problem for Baker Mayfield is sometimes there is an air around certain players that they may or may not be able to live up to. And I think for Baker Mayfield, that was part of the issue. There was this whole, trying to give him the mantle of, being the next, for lack of a better word, great white hope. And I think it wore on him. And I think that it was unfair because to me, body of work is body of work. People can, think or feel a certain way about you in terms of, what you're capable of. But if you can't see that for yourself, or if you can't live up to that, to what people expect of you, then it could be, challenging. I think for Baker Mayfield, that's what happened. I think he got challenged once all was said and done. When you start calling out, team members of yours and saying that they this and they're that, and then you get rid of said team members and then you don't do anything after that, it has people looking at you sideways like, dude, you called this man out. Now he left and we struggling. There's a direct correlation to your greatness and how far this team goes. And I think that's one of the things that's always in question with Baker Mayfield. But I think the other gentleman who you just spoke of, look, I'm always happy to see new blood and see new talent, have the opportunity. Baker, we know what he's capable of because we've seen, his show in with the Cleveland Browns. And I think he got a chance to play a little bit last season as well with a different team. So we know what he's capable of. And like you said, he's capable of managing at this point. We don't know if he's capable of going to that next level, which is stardom and superstardom. That still remains to be seen.
It definitely does. Let's talk about the NBA. I don't know why Rich is up here thinking I should talk about Jimmy Butler. I don't know what's going on with Jimmy Butler, so I'm gonna have to do some quick dive on in that real quick. But I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks versus Golden State Warriors. Had a game for the ages the other day. But Mo, my man was telling me about it last night. He was like, "Frank, did you see that game last night?" I was like, "I didn't see nothing," and I looked at the highlights, man, and the Golden State Warriors are turning some heads because the way they came back and beat Milwaukee, which is the best team in the league. Your take on Golden State winning that Milwaukee game, Mo, what's your thoughts?
I have none because they didn't have Giannis. So it doesn't matter. It's a regular season game. And that's how Milwaukee's looking at it. And honestly, the veterans on Golden State, that's how they're looking at it also. Maybe the young kids are like, man, we beat Milwaukee. They didn't have Giannis. That's a big difference. Without Giannis, that's no feather in the cap. Come on, man. That's just like hitting a senior citizen, man. You don't get no points for that.
And it's just like the Knicks when they beat the Celtics, right, Mo? Keep that same energy, Mo. Keep that same energy. I hear you. What you saying, Mo? Keep that same energy.
You know what, Amir? Frank has had me on ice ever since the Knicks, ever since I said, I didn't even say that. All I did was put a picture up in our group chat. Boom. That was it. I didn't even put one up in Brooklyn. Boom. I mean, the Knicks. And, he had me on ice. Listen, he been treating me like a wet food stamp ever since I said something.
You better tell his boy something. You better tell him something.
He would not let. He is holding. Text me at like 4:00 in the morning. What you got to say now? What you got to say now?
Look, y'all got to know this about the principal. Frank don't play that. If he stuck on something, he's stuck on it. But I will say this. To Mo's point about the game with between Golden State and Milwaukee. Like you said, I'm always impressed when we have all the players in place.
Right.
No disrespect to load management and some of the other things that are going on, obviously, with the league and some of these teams. So here's my thing. If you take them to a game for the ages and they didn't have their superstar, then what does that really say? Does that make you great, or does that mean that they didn't have their superstar and you just lucked out because they didn't have their superstar? But I will say this: I do think that those are still two of the greatest teams right now in the league. Golden State is on the decline, whether we want to be honest with ourselves or not, and not because they're bad. They're a bad team. It's just a lot of these teams are getting younger, and the talent is getting better. Let's be fair, especially in the West. There's a lot of talented teams in the West. What they'll do come playoff time, obviously we have to wait and see. But you are talking about a loaded situation over there in the West, so it's going to be a fight to the finish, over there in the West this year. So I can't wait till the playoffs start.
Yeah, I'll say this too. I'm gonna throw this out there. Y'all might think I'm tripping. I've been looking at Orlando play a lot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Orlando, man, in 3 years, maybe less, 3 years, Orlando's going to be the new Memphis. You know what I mean? Like Orlando is going to be these boys are really, really, really good. They putting it together, and they may be 1 or 2 players away from doing really deep. And that Chimanga, whatever that kid's name, I can't think of his name right now.
Kuminga?
What's his name? That kid is really, really, really good. He's an all-star now. And I can't even imagine him getting better. Listen, overall, the younger play. I mean, you know this because dealing with the NBA and everything else. The boys coming up now are better than we've ever seen at any time in the NBA at all time. So that's my thoughts on this. And I think a lot of these older teams are done. So I guess I'm gonna ask you this, Mo, to keep it fair about the Warriors. Do you think the Warriors gonna make a run and make the playoffs? You know what I mean? Or do you think they are out right now? Because everybody's talking about that this morning. Hot take topics was the Warriors are going to be in or out of the playoffs. What's your take?
I think the Warriors will make the play-in. I think they'll make the play-in tournament, and put up a good fight in them games in the play-in tournament. And depending on who they have, they can run and get a run in the playoffs. But a deep run in the playoff in the West, no. No, their pride and their egos will get them in the play-in tournament, and maybe out of that. And after the play-in tournament, they'd probably be a bust, depending on who they go up against in the first round. I think for them, it's more we can pick it better with scheduling than we can just say it off the top that either yay or nay. It comes down to scheduling with them, who they're going to play, who they're going to see.
Yeah, it does, because there's only 2 or 3 games. There's a lot of teams that are separated by 1 or 2 games in the West. You know what I mean? A lot of them, and they could make it too. So, which is funny thing to think about. What's your take on this, Amir? You think the Warriors gonna make a run and wind up? I think
the Warriors will. I think they're gonna make a run for 2 reasons. First of all, Steph Curry isn't finished. His legacy is cemented as all of theirs are, but these dudes are prideful. They still are, the team to knock off. They did win it last year, so let's not act like they didn't. And as long as you still are, king of the mountain, you're gonna hold on to that for as long as you can. Now, how long they'll be able to hold on to it, again, remains to be seen. And that's only because, again, like we just mentioned, the league is getting younger, and the skilled position players at every position is becoming better and better and better. I mean, these kids are able to pull from 3 feet to 4 feet behind the 3-point line, and all this stuff that like we've never seen before. And this is everybody. It's centers, power forwards. Like we used to just see that from certain players, but now you're seeing it more and more so from all of the players. So I think that what we're witnessing is a new resurgence in terms of how the game is going to be played and viewed. So this shit, again, I can't wait. It's just gonna be a lot of fun.
So my man Rich, who's watching the show, he brought up a good question about Jimmy Butler. So I'm gonna ask you this. Mo. Is the Miami run over? Because we ain't talking about Miami anymore. Miami Heat, their window run over.
I'm trying to see. Miami is sitting in what, like a 6 or 7? No, the Knicks is 6. So Miami's sitting between the 10th and the 8th seed. Yeah, it's about over for them. It's about, they got to start retooling. There's some things that they listen. What they brought in on paper was great, because to bring in a Victor Oladipo, we didn't know how he was going to pan out. After the injuries when he comes back, they brought in the Kyle Lowry, on their guard, but they just don't. They're not killing it too much in the middle. With Tyler Hitner and what's his name? Jesus. I'm just having a bad day remembering names. But coming through the paint for Miami, they're big men. it's not
Oh,
killing it for them. That's what it is. That's what I was going to go with
I
it.
can see. I can see his face too. It'll come to me in a second. Let's see. Rich said Jimmy Butler walked off.
Bam Adebayo. Bam
Thank you.
Adebayo. Bam
Rich said
Adebayo.
Rich said Jimmy walked off the court while the game was still in play, and the Heat got a technical foul. And being that I didn't see that, I didn't bring it up. Rich, I'm still trying to catch up with all the news items because we all know I haven't been, in and around right now. So I'm definitely going to look at that and find out what happened with that.
Yeah, I
Amir,
didn't see that either.
is the Miami Heat run over and the window closing? What's your take, Amir?
I think it is. I think the thing with Miami is, again, another one of those teams that they could never seem to put it together fully. They had the pieces. They seemingly had the leadership, and there could be some questions about the leadership. A Jimmy Butler has been to a few situations now, and they haven't panned out. So, not to say that he's a good or a bad player, but maybe there's something about his personality that doesn't gel necessarily with some of the other kids, and because of that, then they causes this dissension in the locker room. I think that their window is done only from the standpoint of it looks as though his whatever he has brought to the table isn't meshing with everybody else. So maybe they may need to move him and bring somebody or something else in there to kind of right the ship again. So we have to, like you said, keep an eye on that and see how that pans out.
Yeah, I definitely think we have to. What were you gonna say,
And
Mo?
you gotta understand too with Miami. Miami was a bunch of um I'm gonna get back at you players. Players who were overlooked and made it to a team, and they're like, "Yeah, we getting back at the league for not drafting, not picking us." But you can't only go but so far with those guys. There's a reason why they were overlooked and not picked for teams.
Mhm. He looked like he froze. Okay, yeah, you're absolutely right with that. Let me ask you this, Mo. The Denver lost 3 straight. People concerned. There's concern out west, but they lost 3 straight. Are you concerned with Denver losing 3 straight?
Nah, man, come on, the Joker. They're gonna be out. They're gonna be in the playoffs, and they're still gonna make a move. It's just that in this league right now, three games losing can drop you quickly from second to fifth, or from first to eighth. In each division is like the West and the East are sitting on like what 2 or 3 games separations. So we can see it once a team goes on a losing streak of 2 or 3 games, with the Knicks just on a 3-game losing streak, they drop from fourth to sixth. That's the only thing that Denver needs to be concerned about, where they're going to be at and how strong, but they're going to push, they're going to make to have a good, maybe get home court advantage in the first round. That's about
Mhm.
it. But no, they're not going anywhere, man. They're going to be right there in the middle of it.
Okay, so Denver is getting a lot of players coming back, but from health concerns and everything else. But right now, people are concerned that they have 3 losses. Are you feeling like Mo, or you think that there should be a panic button in here because each game is separated by
Nah.
1 or 2 games, especially in the West?
Well, again, the thing about the West in general, like I said, it's a very stacked and loaded situation out there in the West, and it's all going to come down to the teams that have playoff experience, and then their leadership. And Denver's been one of those teams that's been on the cusp the last few years. They were on the cusp even when the bubble was happening. Unfortunately, their main guy, the guard dude, he went down and he was out the last 3 years or last 2 years or something like that. And he's finally, getting his legs back under him. There's nothing to panic, with those guys. Like I said, it's going to be tough to see whether or not they can put their heads together and go, this is our time. We got to seize this moment, because that may be running out for them, the ability to seize the moment with the players that they have currently. So
I agree with that part.
we got to see. Yeah.
So I guess the one of the last couple questions I got for you guys is, Mo, can you see the Phoenix Suns in the finals right now with what they got? Because we all know that KD, even though he came up limping, KD up there with Devin Booker is a sight to see. What's your take on that? Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and no bench.
I can see it. I can see it, but can it happen? I think we talked about this the last time we were on, me, you, and Mike. We were talking
Yeah.
about it's hard for these guys to just jump into a team and all of a sudden become contenders, even though we want to label them as automatic contenders. Kevin Durant goes to Phoenix, and they're automatic contenders, but they still haven't played and learn each other. But I will say this: if there's any point guard that can make them come together that quick, it is Chris Paul. Even though he's old, his mind, he still knows how to run that floor. And like I said before, I don't see them being a top contender, not because of the talent, because they just haven't played together enough. But if anybody can bring it together quicker, it is Chris Paul. He's the only guard in the NBA that could do that.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Amir. Do you think Phoenix can be in the finals?
Anything's a possibility. The tough part about this time of year, obviously, is always just making sure that you have your full body of work on the floor. As we've seen in the last few weeks, like you said, teams are, coming back with certain of their players coming back from injury, or we have situations where people are getting injured or having, serious injuries. So it just remains to be seen whether or not, any team can keep all of their players on the floor at any given time and show up. I think Phoenix has the capability because I like, that team in particular. I wish some of the other pieces that they had prior didn't move because then they, be a lock. But I think you have more than enough firepower with the players that they have in place now to definitely, go to the finals. It's just they got to lock in. And that's always a, interesting thing to see.
And Frank, Frank, I want to say this. We shouldn't be looking at Phoenix's starting five to see if they can make it. We need to look at their bench because that's the most important part. We know the starting five can blow anybody out. But who's on the bench? That's what's going to make their playoff run deep.
And that's why I said their bench, like when I first asked the question, their bench is going to be, they don't have one. You know what I mean? They don't have a bench. And that's the problem. Mo, the next question is are the Clippers going to turn the corner because they had a couple of great games and they're starting to put it together? Kyrie, Kawhi, and it's starting to look good. PG starting to look good, but they are having still problems with the point. What's your take, Mo?
You can get through the playoffs without a point guard. We've seen it happen before. We've seen teams don't have a solid point guard. They don't need one because they got some great players on the wings who can run the floor just as well. Mm-hmm. We know that in this league, sometimes it's not even about who's the best team. It's about who's starting to click at the right time. And it looks like the Clippers are starting to click at the right time. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. And it looks like, and they don't have a slouch coach. They got Tyronn Lue. He knows what he's doing. And for his team to start clicking and right now and taking throughout the rest of the year, yeah, man, they still a threat. They're a big threat.
Amir, what's your take on this, bro?
Well, the Clippers have been the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. They look good that regular season. And then we get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden you're like, what happened? Again, until they get past that or, get over that hump, we still have to question, their ability come playoff time. I've always, appreciate what they look like during the regular season. But to me, regular season is a regular season. Yes, you play for seeding, play for home court advantage and all those things. But the playoffs, when you in hostile environments, when you in territories that's not yours, who shows up then? And the Clippers haven't proven to be very strong in that area just yet. So we got to wait and see.
I agree with that one. The Lakers played the Knicks last night. The Lakers ended up losing, and they had some issues. And the Knicks got back on the winning column side of things. Are you more concerned for the Knicks? Well, I'm asking a Knicks fan. More thoughts on the Knicks or the Lakers about that game last night? What's your take, Mo?
Neither one, because both teams were without the pieces that they need. This is just a game of formalities. The Lakers are without LeBron, even though I did have a ticket on the Lakers Knicks game, and Anthony Davis looked clumsy throughout the whole game. I don't even think he hit one free throw. I needed him to make 25 points. He only made 17. If he would have hit all his free throws and a couple of those down low shots, it seemed like ever since the Lakers got the shooters, Anthony Davis is not a part of the team anymore. I watched that whole game. He was very rarely in the middle. So either team, this was just a formality because the Knicks without Jalen Brunson It's just that the Knicks without Jalen Brunson. You know, I mean, we proved to some teams that we can win without Jalen Brunson, but we can't make a run without him. No.
Yeah.
And the Lakers are not making a run without LeBron.
Well said. Amir, your take?
Same thing. I think that Mo, hit the nail on the head. I watched the highlights of the game. I didn't actually get a chance to see the game. And, to his point, I think one of the things that's probably going on for the Lakers much more so than, what the Knicks were able to accomplish yesterday is the Lakers are trying to find out if the shooters that they have really are capable. So I think yesterday, all we saw was those gentlemen, working on that part of their game because, the most point when LeBron comes back and, if he comes back and, they have all their pieces, you already know what AD is capable of doing inside and outside. You already know what LeBron is capable of doing. Where they have, kind of struggled over the last few seasons is they haven't had the outside shooting. And now to see some of these young men who they have on the team knocking down shots and at least feeling comfortable in that space, it's going to, be interesting to see once the playoffs come if they can still keep that same energy. So we'll see.
We definitely will see. My man Rich sent me the story about Miami is going to seriously look at moving Jimmy Butler at some point. And that's not a surprise at all. I don't see that happening as a surprise at all. But gentlemen, it looked like that's the show. Mo, can you tell everybody out there what you got going on?
Yeah, I'm in New Hampshire this weekend at McHugh's performing. I'm featuring there. Then I'll be in Wyndham, Maine next week also. And I'm sitting back and I'm doing my writing. I got some things I'm doing. I'm changing up the game in my view and doing some good writing.
Well, that's one thing. I mean, I would ask you if you're going to do stand-up this weekend, but I know you're not a comic, though, right?
No, I'm not. But you can catch me this evening on WEMSradio.com with talent. We do our Motivational Monday this evening, 6 p.m. If you're on Facebook, you can look it up on Facebook and just find WEMS Radio and watch it live there, or you can go to the app and watch it. 6 p.m. this evening, Motivational Monday with talent. And one more thing I want to do, I want to give a big, big shout out to one of my close friends and brothers, Adrian Autry, who has gotten a job with Syracuse as the head coach. As you may know, he played on Talent Time with my brother and happens to be a friend of the family. So I'm really happy for him and proud of him. So salute, Red. Congratulations, brother.
Amir, I haven't heard Talentine because I went to Lockland. I went to Bishop Lockland. So, that all that the CHSAA, I'm like, when you said Talentine, and they've been a basketball, are they still a strong basketball?
No, they're not even an official school anymore. They changed and took that space and made it a few different schools now. But like I said, when I heard the news, because Adrian Autry again, he played on the famed team of my brother the year that they won the city and everything against Kenny Anderson. But, Jim Boeheim and, that organization, y'all remember the Big East when it was the Big East, meaning, it had that, camaraderie. And to see Red, get this opportunity, I think is huge. And like I said, I'm super happy for him and proud of him. Sometimes it's always great when you see somebody who, you watch rise up through the rankings, really, get that shot. So I'm super happy for my brother.
That's super, super, super dope. But Amir, thank you for taking the time and thank you for sitting in. I really appreciate that. Mo, thank you for sitting in. I appreciate that. We're going to be back tomorrow doing what we do. The show's called Box Seats. We talk about sports with comedians. We try to add some comedy, and we're going to have to stop being funny. We got to start cracking some more jokes. In the last couple days.
So you trying to say, like, I'm the one comedian on here, and now all of a sudden you make it seem like the show wasn't funny. Like, what It wasn't?
It wasn't funny.
Wow, you see, I told you, man, ever since I made that comment about the damn Knicks and the Celtics, he been treating me like a wet booze. You should see it when I'm trying to call the text. It's okay, though. That's okay. Listen, Frank, I love you like my grandmother's Sunday cooking. But boy, I would not talk about the boss's teams anymore.
That's a good idea. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'll see y'all. Take care. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.